Have you ever found yourself thinking about someone constantly, even when you don't mean to? Your heart races when they walk into the room. Your mood lifts just from seeing them smile, and suddenly the world seems to revolve around their existence. That's the power of a crush. It's more than just a fleeting attraction. It's a psychological phenomenon that affects how you think, feel, and even behave. Crushes are thrilling, confusing, and sometimes all-consuming. But behind the butterflies and daydreams, there are real psychological processes at play. In this video, let's unravel the mystery behind those intense feelings. Here are 9 psychological facts about crushes that will change the way you see your emotions. First, when you develop a crush, your brain treats it like an addiction. The same brain regions that are activated when someone uses drugs like cocaine are also activated when you're infatuated with someone. Dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, surges through your brain whenever you think about your crush. This flood of dopamine makes you feel euphoric, energized, and obsessed. That's why you might replay conversations in your head, imagine scenarios where you're together, or scroll through their social media for hours. Your brain craves that emotional high, and your crush becomes the source of it. The more you feed the crush, the more you want it. It becomes a cycle of emotional reinforcement that's hard to break. Second, crushes can affect your ability to think clearly. When you're around the person you like, your brain actually suppresses the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logical thinking, decision-making, and self-control. That's why you might say something awkward, stumble over your words, or forget what you were going to say entirely when you talk to your crush. It's not just nerves, it's neurological. Your brain shifts its priorities from reasoning to emotional connection. This cognitive shutdown is why crushes can make even the smartest people act a little foolish. You're not broken. You're just human, caught in the whirlwind of hormonal chemistry. Third, having a crush boosts your self-esteem, at least temporarily. Just the thought that someone might like you back, or the possibility of romantic attention, can make you feel more attractive, desirable, and alive. Even if nothing has happened between you and your crush, the fantasy itself can provide a powerful emotional lift. You feel more confident walking down the hall or more inspired to dress well and take care of yourself. It's the internal hope that maybe, just maybe, something magical could happen that fuels this energy. Crushes ignite a sense of possibility, and that optimism can be incredibly motivating, even in other areas of life like work, school, or fitness. Fourth, your brain tends to idealize your crush. You don't just see the person. They become a projection of your hopes, desires, and fantasies. Psychologists call this positive illusion. It's when you exaggerate your crush's positive traits and overlook their flaws. You may convince yourself they're funnier, smarter, or more charming than they actually are. In reality, they're just a regular person with strengths and weaknesses. But in your mind, they become a flawless version of themselves. This idealization is part of why crushes feel so intense. It's not just about the person, but about the ideal you've built around them. The danger here is that you're often falling for who you imagine they are, not who they truly are. Fifth, crushes can influence your behavior without you realizing it. You might find yourself mimicking their speech patterns, interests, or habits. If they like a particular band, suddenly you're listening to it non-stop. If they dress a certain way, you might subconsciously adopt a similar style. This phenomenon is called mirroring, and it's a subconscious way your brain tries to build rapport and emotional closeness. Humans are wired for connection, and your brain instinctively looks for ways to bond with someone you're attracted to. You want to seem compatible, even if that means changing little parts of yourself to match their vibe. While this can be harmless, it's important to stay aware of how much of yourself you're modifying just for someone else. Sixth, crushes can trigger anxiety, especially when the feelings are one-sided or unspoken. You might obsess over what to say, worry about being rejected, or overanalyze every interaction. This is because your brain sees uncertainty as a threat. Not knowing where you stand with someone you like keeps your stress response on high alert. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your stomach churns with nervous energy. The emotional risk of a crush can feel as intense as a physical threat. That's why the simple act of messaging them first or saying hello can feel like climbing a mountain. Your body is reacting to the emotional stakes, and the fear of rejection is very real. Seventh, crushes can make you more creative. That's right, being infatuated can actually boost your imagination. Studies have shown that people experiencing romantic longing often engage in more creative thinking. When your brain is filled with desire and curiosity, it starts generating new ideas and possibilities. You might write poetry, start journaling, create music, or even imagine future scenarios with your crush. This creative spark comes from the emotional stimulation your brain is experiencing. It's a form of emotional expression that helps you process and explore your feelings. So if you suddenly feel inspired to create something, your crush might be the muse behind it. Eighth, the intensity of a crush often fades over time, especially if it remains unfulfilled. Your brain can only maintain the heightened emotional state of infatuation for so long before it starts to stabilize. This is why a crush that once consumed your every thought might start to lose its grip after a few weeks or months. The fantasy begins to wear thin, especially if you don't get any emotional feedback, or if you start noticing flaws you previously ignored. It's a natural progression. The emotional roller coaster slows down and reality sets in. That doesn't mean the feelings weren't real. It just means your brain is returning to a state of balance. Ninth, the way you experience crushes says a lot about your attachment style. If you tend to idealize people quickly and feel devastated when they don't return your interest, you might have an anxious attachment style. You crave connection and fear rejection intensely. If you avoid getting too close or push people away when feelings arise, you may have an avoidant attachment style. You're cautious about emotional vulnerability. If you enjoy crushes but stay grounded and emotionally regulated, you likely have a secure attachment style. Your early experiences with caregivers shape how you respond to romantic interest later in life. Understanding your attachment style can give you powerful insight into why you crush the way you do, and how to manage those feelings in a healthy way. There's also the concept of celebrity crushes. These are fascinating because they reveal how our brains can become emotionally invested in people we've never met. You know they'll never know your name, but still you feel attached to their voice, their smile, or the characters they play. It's a safe way to explore emotions without the risk of real rejection. Your brain responds to them as if they were part of your social circle, even though the connection is one-sided. This phenomenon highlights how deeply wired we are for emotional connection. Even imagined or distant connections can trigger powerful feelings. Crushes also exist in friendships. Sometimes you develop feelings for a close friend, and suddenly the lines between platonic and romantic blur. This can create internal conflict. Should you risk the friendship to explore your feelings, or keep them hidden to preserve what you have? These types of crushes are emotionally intense because they involve real connection, trust, and shared history. They challenge you to examine your feelings deeply and to navigate complex emotional terrain with honesty and care. Whether or not the feelings are mutual, the experience teaches you a lot about emotional maturity and vulnerability. The psychology of crushes isn't just about romance, it's about connection, identity, and the way we relate to others. Every time you have a crush, your brain is doing a deep dive into your emotional blueprint. What excites you? What scares you? What are you looking for in another person? Crushes reveal your desires and fears in the most raw and honest way. They can be a window into your emotional health, your attachment needs, and your capacity for love. And while it's tempting to chase every crush or interpret them as signs of destiny, it's equally important to stay grounded in reality. Not every crush will turn into love. Not every feeling needs to be acted upon. Sometimes a crush is just a moment, a spark of interest that passes. Other times, it's the beginning of something deeper. The key is to understand the psychology behind the emotion so you're not ruled by it. When you know why you feel what you feel, you gain emotional power. You can decide how to respond rather than just react. In the end, crushes are one of life's most exciting emotional experiences. They keep our hearts beating faster, our minds wandering, and our lives feeling just a little more magical. They remind us that we're alive, that we still have the capacity to feel deeply, and that connection is always possible. Whether your crush turns into something real or fades away, embrace the journey. Let it teach you. Let it inspire you. And most importantly, let it connect you more deeply to yourself. Because sometimes the person you discover through a crush isn't just them, it's you.